All right, what is going on, guys? So I reached out to Samsung's press release team and let them know that I wanted the S23 early like all the other tech creators. And you know what they sent me? Not this. They actually replied to my email saying, we'd love to send you the S23 lineup. Unfortunately though, you're sponsored by nobody. So I had to wait like everyone else that's a normal non-tech creator, and now I have the product in hand and I can give you guys my first impressions and unboxing experience. So I know I'm delaying my first impressions, but please watch this portion of the video because I get this question a lot about what I do with products that I buy for this channel. And I will say, if I really like the product, I keep it. And no surprise, S21, S22, S22 Ultra, I really love the S lineup that Samsung has. I think in terms of a phone experience, they just blow Apple out of the water. But with that out the way, let's get this unboxed. So if you're new to this channel, you have to keep in mind that we always give credit where credit is due. And Samsung products are a little bit special because their boxes are actually printed in Mexico, but the product is made in Korea. So that's pretty interesting that I would say. Let me go ahead and get the good old unboxing knife. I haven't gotten this in a while. Go ahead and shoop. Wow, never cut towards yourself, guys. Samsung boxes are a little bit different. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It smells like cardboard. This is a very unique unboxing experience. Why? Because it's actually just paper on top of this. And if you just take away the paper, you have the device. But since this is black on black, it's hard to tell. And subtle touch, Samsung, but definitely improves the unboxing experience. Then you just lift up this flap here, and the product is here in the hand. I'm gonna go ahead and take off this plastic. I love the black on black. Samsung, you've outdone yourselves. Now to do a quick smell test. This smells like I just went to a restaurant and I'm the most important person that ever walked in. So if you're new to this channel, I always do a balance test. And the balance test is me just throwing the phone and catching it and seeing if it feels good when I toss it and catch it. And I've got to say, Samsung, it's a pretty balanced phone. There are other phones that don't feel as balanced, kind of wobbles in the air, but center of gravity on the S23 and even the S22 in the Ultra is a little bit heavy. Yeah, see how the S23 wobbles in the air and goes off to the side? The regular S20, or the regular S series, the non-Ultras, they're really balanced. Like I can toss this in the sky like 100 feet and catch it no problem. So balance test, S tier for Samsung, an S. This joke sucks. So I know this isn't a comparison video and I can have a detailed comparison video in the upcoming days, but notice with the S22 and the S23 just has basically hole punches for the camera, whereas the camera lenses on the S22 and below are wrapped around in the metal. So one of the major differences that you can see if you were trying to spot the S23 out in the wild. So right now I'm transferring data over from the S22 Ultra into the S23, and I've got to say, Samsung, in terms of the setup process now, you've made it much more seamless, especially if you are an existing Samsung user. I don't have to type in my username or password. I can just scan a QR code and then I'm in, and then I can transfer all the data over through a cable or wirelessly through Smart Switch. So gotta say, setup process for Samsung phones, it's getting up there with the iPhones now. All right, so the data transfer is finally complete. Didn't take too long. I'd say it's probably about 10 to 15 minutes because all the apps didn't transfer over. They're grayed out here, but if I want to install, I can just tap on it, click install, and then after that, it's gonna be downloading. So I'm probably gonna do that instead of transferring over everything. I'll just install the apps that I use on a daily basis one by one. But regardless, I'm not here to show you guys how to transfer and set up an Android device. I'm here to show you what the S23 is capable of and how much better it is from its predecessor, the S22. Now, if you're looking at the spec sheet, there's not much difference between the S22 and the S23. We have a brighter display in both regular content and HDR content. We have a bigger battery, so hopefully we have bigger battery life. We have a faster processor. I believe it might be one of the fastest processors. We also have Wi-Fi 6E. In terms of overall things that are different, not much. It is a little bit sad that Samsung isn't going to be using their own processors for their phones anymore. They're just going to be leveraging Qualcomm and Snapdragon to make chips specifically for them, which seems to be something that is I don't necessarily agree with, because I would like to have seen Samsung, build out their own chip manufacturing process and just be, their own vertical integrated company. All right, so looking around the device here, once again, we have that hole punch design, and that is very reminiscent of what we have on the Ultra. So you're getting that Ultra-esque design in the non-Ultra devices, which is nice. The other thing that I want to mention is that it is both flat on the bottom and the top. It's one of the things that I really like about the regular S20s, not the Ultras, because the Ultras, as much as I love the screen, the rounded edges kind of it's just not it for me. I really do like the flat design on both the regular S23 and the S23 Plus. Another thing that I really like about Samsung and their design for their phones is that the outside part is a little bit blown out a bit, so it makes it more comfortable to hold in the hand. And then once again, we have that in-display fingerprint reader. I just have my index finger right now, but still have that punch hole in terms of the notch. But let's go ahead and see how content looks on this thing and how the speakers are. All right, so today it looks like we are going to Monte Carlo. For Samsung products, I always like to put it on Dolby Atmos, so I'm just gonna enable that real quick. Let's talk about the display here for a second. Speakers, Samsung, they sound really great for a flagship smartphone. But the display is in particular of what I want to talk about. It's no secret, Samsung, I would say, is probably one of the masters of displays when it comes to mobile devices, because even though they do supply their displays for iPhones, there's just something that Samsung puts on top of whatever they're using underneath the hood. I said on top and underneath the hood at the same time. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that the colors and the richness of what you get from a Samsung product is just, I would say, way more vibrant than what I get on the iPhone Pro models. And it's crazy that the Ultra even takes it up a notch from there. So in terms of the display, I mean, once again, Samsung knocked it out the park. Now let's see what a normal voice sounds like, which would be me. What is going on, guys? So we're really close to 40,000 subscribers. Maybe by the time I post this video, I'll already be at 40,000 subscribers, but appreciate everyone who has joined the channel as of late. There's been a tremendous amount of growth, but in today's video, I want clear. I'd say it probably sounds a little fuzzy on the high ends. If I turn it down a bit, it's gonna sound fine. Do my buyer's guide of the MacBooks. I just locked the phone. Books that Apple has, because now that the second generation of Pros are out, we have a pretty decent. Honestly, it just might be my voice. My voice just sounds a little. Anyway, so in terms of a rating that I can give, the display I would say is like an A-, and then the speakers are B+. It could be better. So let's go ahead and look at the camera and see how the camera and the microphone's like. All right, so this is the camera test on the S23, and this is the front-facing camera in 4K 30. So you guys can tell me how it looks and sounds. I would say Androids overall have a more natural look to them versus the regular, or I should say the iPhones. Well, the iPhones just make it seem really, really vivid, whereas Android devices look really natural. And Samsung, in terms of the front-facing camera, no one's going to be really disappointed in this. You would definitely have to do a bit more post-processing on the Android side of things, but overall, I'd say a lot of people are going to be satisfied with the front-facing camera. And just keep in mind, the back camera is going to be even better than this. So Samsung, once again, pretty good job. All right, so now let's take some photos. So I'm going to take 2 photos with the front-facing camera and then 2 photos with the back camera. So let's start off with the front camera first. All right, so one thing that is going to annoy me is the camera. So I'm just going to flip these images super quick if you don't mind. There we go. All right, so looking at this photo here, this is the non-portrait one using the front-facing camera. And I've got to say, in terms of the detail that Samsung is able to get with just the front-facing camera, I really do like it. It's sharp. Most of the things are legible and clear, although I'm pretty close. But let's go ahead and look at the portrait mode. And can't really say if this is an improvement from the previous generation, but definitely does a good job of blurring out the background and keeping me in focus. Especially that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays. Now let's move over to the back cameras and see if there's any improvement. And I just look very, I don't want to say fake, but it's very warm tone. There are a lot of amber lights here that I'm using, but it's a very warm tone here. Camera looks really sharp. Wow. I'm in awe. Look at the detail on the shirt. And then let's switch over to portrait. This portrait on the back camera, I would say, is better than the front facing one. This one looks more natural. It's probably a little bit too much on the blur. I'd probably tone it down if it was for my own taste of what I would like from portrait mode. It's a little bit too strong for me, but the cameras on Samsung, this is really good, especially from the base level model they have here. So once again, this is, I would say, definitely more natural with the front facing camera. Back camera, since there's more light, definitely has a little bit of a warmer tone to it. All right, so that is pretty much my first impressions of the S23. Probably not gonna get the S23 Plus because it's like the same phone but bigger. If you want bigger battery life, better display, go ahead, get the S23, but the S23 Ultra is coming in later today. Shout out to Samsung for not replying to my email, but really do love this product. I think, once again, in terms of mobile products, Samsung is probably one of my favorites. If it wasn't for everyone else in my family and friends that are using iPhone, I would 100% have a Samsung product, no doubt. This is a really nice product. I think this is an improvement from the S22. I wasn't the biggest fan of them getting rid of the additional metal around the camera lens, but now that I see it in person, I actually prefer this instead. But with all that being said, guys, hopefully you guys did enjoy this first impressions. I'll have comparison videos coming out in the upcoming days. And as always, guys, much love.